cohort, Jimmy Petruzzi. Welcome, Jimmy.
Welcome all, and welcome Clifford, and hopefully you had a great week. Sit back, whether you're driving or whether you just got home from work, and we've got an action-packed show lined up for you over the next hour. Glad to have you on board.
Indeed, I'll second that. And to whet your appetite, I can tell you, to get your mind thinking, this is what's on the show this evening. Who, or what should I say, is the new fastest animal in the world? Have a think about that. It's actually a movement. It's been clocked well past 100 miles an hour, just to give you an idea. Have a think about that. You can get involved at Sports Friday on the Twitter account. And in honour of Keith Brooks, our great local Eccles winner of the BBC Unsung Hero of the Year regional award last week, who will be BBC Sports Personality of the Year, we ask, who is the anti-sports person of the year? Also on Twitter, at Sports Friday, who has been the biggest villain of the sporting world throughout 2018? Let us know. And Bolton have banned local media, so another little twist there on the growing despair at Bolton. If you heard last week, our Bolton correspondent Stunt, Pegg, kept us up to date on the charade and the down spiral that's going on. But the owner has promised to pay apparently this week. And a special guest is Chris Casper, sporting director of Salford City Football Club. We'll be welcoming him on at 6:20. That is plenty to look forward to. Welcome aboard. But we'll start with Salford City. Will whet the appetite because they've lost their unbeaten run, Jimmy. 20 games unbeaten out the window.
Yeah, I'm sure that Chris will be able to shed some light on that. But that's football, and I think that for me, how you bounce back after a loss is key, and I think it's inevitable in one sense, and it's difficult in this day and age in any league to go through unbeaten without getting beat all year. So I'm pretty confident for them, the squad they've got and the staff they have, that they'll bounce back. That's for sure. Yeah,
we'll look forward to seeing exactly the lowdown of the club. We know it's doing well. We know it's got 3 promotions in a row. We've got an idea of roughly which direction's heading pretty much north at a breakneck speed. But it'd be great to get a closer look behind the scenes and see where they're at. There was a documentary a year or two ago. If you didn't catch that, I don't know if you get that on iPlayer, but it'll be interesting compared to that, what's happened.
Yeah, no, it will be interesting, and I'm sure Chris, he's an honest professional, and he'll tell like it is, that's for sure. And I think like any club's it's work in progress, and I think the higher up you go, the harder it is to go up again, isn't it? Really, in respect to the quality gets tougher and tougher. It's a bit like years ago. I don't know if you used to play Football Manager I used to play Football Manager as a teenager. The higher up you went, the harder it was, and certainly in my experience in the professional game, as a professional, the higher up you go, it's harder. It's the margins are more fine, and you go up there, and it's not easy, that's for sure. And this day and age, there's a lot of clubs out there that attract players, and it's a level playing field. You've got some great staff, you've got some good clubs that have good recruitment policies, and you've got good training methods, so the margins are fine.
I think what's interesting with such a meteoric rise, as we're very lucky to have them as well here at Salford, is the succession issue for the owners. At what point do you reward your trusted, loyal players and even managers, and at what point do you have to make that hardest decision of, look, you've done great, but we've got to let you go? I mean, that's probably the crux of it.
That's a great point, and I think that it's a good point. I'd like to hear from the listeners. Email us on the Friday Weekly Sports Show. Get in touch on the Facebook page and on Twitter as well. It's a good point because I always think that when you're winning is the time to make changes. And I think that resting on your laurels and dining on yesterday is never a good idea because, we like loyalty, and that's important. That's said and done. There's an obligation to the fans, to the club, and nobody's bigger than the club, irrespective of who you are. And I think that it's sometimes evolution, not revolution. You got to keep going, and that's the thing. And it's a tough industry to be in, and fans demand success.
Especially now, I mean, the expectations.
Yeah, I think so.
There can be no Salford City fan, and if you do go watch regularly, let us know. You must be full of constant optimism and nearly assumption that you're going to win. I mean, you must have been shocked last week losing to Chesterfield 2-0.
But that shows, that in that league, that any team's capable of beating anyone on the day. And I think every game, you've got to go into every game, every half, win every battle in the game, every kick, every shot. You've got to take it day by day and game by game and training session, and you can never underestimate anyone, and no doubt they wouldn't have underestimated Chesterfield. But we know that in football, a week's a long time, and one win becomes 2, 3, and you lose one and you lose 2 or 3 on the spin, and it's tough sometimes to break that cycle. So I think that one of the great times to sort of make change, I think, is when a team is winning, because you can make subtle changes that are important. Always look for that marginal gain. The marginal gain being, where can I make an improvement? Because you know what the game's like. You sort of take your eye off the ball for a moment, then bang, the other team takes over. And we've seen that happen in the Premier League. I was thinking this morning, actually, I was going for a walk in a nice fresh air this morning, and I had
felt great today, huh?
Yeah, it was fantastic.
That's what healthy feels like, by the way.
Definitely. Crispy.
That's what it feels like when you're healthy. That's the freshness.
Beautiful, wasn't it? Beautiful day and crispy and fresh. And I was walking, I was thinking, you know what? A moment of introspection where I thought, wouldn't it be amazing if you had Salford in the Premier League?
They're going that way.
Could you imagine Manchester United, Manchester City, and Salford stuck in the middle?
You remember some of the teams that have made it in the Premier League? I mean, some time, but Bradford made it, and all kinds of teams.
Exactly, that's interesting stuff. And Bradford did.
Salford would be quite something, though.
Wigan as well. Wigan obviously made it too. But I agree. I mean, a few years ago, Salford were in the Northwest League, the Northwest Counties, I believe. A few years ago, maybe one above that. Your memory serves it correct. So to be where they are now is a big achievement, irrespective of the finances involved. It's still a big achievement. You still got to go out there and win games. It's not easy.
We know plenty of people that splurge money to no effect.
Exactly. And I think it's
so you need it now. You look at all the leagues around the world; they're getting more and more polarised towards wealth. So you do need money, but with that board and with that ambition and with that pedigree, they're going to get to the championship for sure.
I mean, the guys are winners, aren't they? They're all about winning. And I think if there's something lacking at United at the moment, Manchester United at the moment, it's that sort of class of 92, that winning mentality. That winning mentality where, I did a talk last night and it sort of dawned on me. I was speaking to some aspiring academy players from Australia last night, and I spoke to them and said that I've had the opportunity to visit the United training ground on a few occasions, and many years ago, on one of my first visits at the old Cliff, I know you remember the Cliff.
Yeah, the Cliff.
Exactly.
Ground, yeah.
And the training, in the way I see it, it's only my opinion, has changed in the sense that back then there was a different aura about the place. And then when I moved to Carrington, I visited a friend of mine there who works as a sports scientist, and the culture there at that point I felt was different, because I recall one day visiting a colleague of mine there who had done some work at another club, and he invited me down. I went down there, and just the nature of the players, the respectfulness, just the little things like you're waiting at a canteen to get a bite to eat, and the younger players saying, "You can go through, sir." I'm thinking, wow, this is an amazing culture. Where has that gone in the game? Really? I mean, seriously. I mean,
I think wealth and indulgence and a certain amount of incubation from reality. It weakens the character.
But he had big characters. You
only learn about yourself in adversity, don't you?
But you had these big characters that would it's like these big characters that will say, pull your head in.
Did you see Thierry Henry this week? Just talking about that. He was head of Monaco, had a young player doing the press conference. The young player got up and just walked out without putting his chair on the table, and I've never seen Thierry Henry get angry. He's suave, personified, and he looked the daggers he looked at this young player and didn't move until the young player about 10 seconds later realised, come back. Just a little example of what's happened in society.
I think so, and I think it's indictment of society in general to a point. I mean,
of course, we know sports. We say a lot.
I think so.
Society.
I think so, and I think for me, it's like you get a professional contract for a year, all of a sudden you've made it. You're the bee's knees, and you see also in the media, a player's a good season or two, and they're touting them to all the biggest teams in the world. And I think for me, it's like getting a reality check and saying, okay, you've had a good season, 2 seasons, let's see consistently. Consistently, the top players are there year in, year out. They do it, and that's the important thing for me: the ability to do it year in, year out.
Humans pick the path of least resistance. You need a bit of toughness. You need a cold wind on your face, cold baths, a bit of grief from the senior players.
I mean, there's got to be a balance. There's got to be a balance. I think that we saw some horrendous scenes at Stamford Bridge. Absolutely horrendous. The fans hurling abuse at the players and the alleged allegation. I don't know if it's been confirmed yet. Will
that ever go out of the game, though?
Well, it's a problem of society. it's not just about the game. I think that it's not about the game.
A lot of men in particular go there to vent, get drunk, vent frustration.
But you couldn't call them football fans in the sense that you go to football, and we're a football family. That's the reality. In football, we are a family, and we got a lot. And we battle on the field, and that's acceptable. We off the field and handshake, and we go again. And for me, fans or so-called fans that do that, it's completely unacceptable. It needs to be addressed, and what I'd like to see is the people, the powers that be at the highest level, come out and openly condemn that sort of behaviour.
And with social media now, you will get caught out. So it is hopefully on its way out.
But we need. I think for me, it needed to be condemned a lot earlier.
But sport, especially football, rouses the tribal.
The newspapers got a responsibility to not report nonsensical news at times where they make these allegations and put pressure on players. What players put on their social media about what they do, providing us, all above board, is their business. And I think for them, they've got no right to get into people's lives in that sense, really. And I think for me, they can stir things up, and that's not good for me. I think for me, these players, they give their heart and soul. They work hard to get there, and they deserve a lot more respect than what they get.
If you're going to argue the opposite, we live in a very sanitised age, and maybe it is an arena where you can be a bit angry, cathartic.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a line for sure that's drawn. I think
a lot of clubs a lot of clubs have ultras as well. I mean, there's a tradition with that male getting together, and the only area one day a week where you've worked hard all week, and not that I'm defending what happened, but just more the general that.
I was at Anfield this week. I was at Anfield and watching Napoli. I was in the Napoli stand, and Anfield, we know the atmosphere there is formidable. Maybe not like it used to be, in my opinion, years ago, but with the new stand,
it's still one of the best, isn't it?
But it is,
in the world.
Yeah, I mean, your hairs stand up when they sing "You'll Never Walk Alone." The hairs on the back of your neck stand up, and I'm sort of right opposite the fans, and even that.
It was a knockout tie, pretty much.
Precisely, and the respect the fans had for the players. And the away fans, and the mutual respect that the Napoli fans had for Liverpool on a whole, and that's what the way it should be. And I think for me, there was a defining moment there where Mo Salah scores the goal, and I voted for Koulibaly to be the African Player of the Year. He's a phenomenal player.
I love Koulibaly.
Fantastic player. But there is this
Silk
moment,
and steel.
Exactly. But there's a moment where Mo Salah just bumps him off the ball. Exactly. And it shows how talented Salah is. But it was a great game, in the sense that, certainly from a result point of view for Liverpool, not good for Napoli. They gave it all that. You couldn't have asked them to give more than what they did. No. Going to Anfield, by the way, is not an easy place to be for any team, irrespective of who you are. And I think sometimes you look at the budget for Napoli, not that that's making an excuse, but the reality is, comparatively to some other teams, they've done okay. They've done well. And
get involved anyway. Conversely, the Manchester United was a game that didn't do the game of football justice. It was a horrible no-show, no football. Tell us what you think. You can get involved in that.
Yes.
There's a big argument tearing right through the Manchester United support at the moment, pro Mourinho or against Mourinho. Where do you fall? We'll come back with that and our big guest very shortly here on Sports Friday.
Are you looking to advertise your business, promote your company or market your project? Well, you can do just that with Salford City Radio. All you have to do is get in contact with us, which couldn't be easier. Email us at info@salfordcityradio.org, call 0161 793 2939, or you can click on the advertising tab at our website at www.salfordcityradio.org.
Merry Christmas from everyone at Salford City Radio.
The place to be this festive season. Join us for some festive shows this Christmas.
94.4 FM.
Your city.
Your city.
Your city.
Your station.
Salford City Radio.
Welcome aboard. We're here live from the heart of Salford City, broadcasting around the world, but especially to our local parish here, Salford. It's Sports Friday, welcome back. We've got another 40 minutes to look at the big issues of the week and get Casper, who'll be coming very shortly, to give us a real insight into our local club, Salford City. So, what is the new fastest animal on Earth? I'll whet your appetite. There's Usain Bolt is the fastest human. I wonder how fast you think he is in full stride, full glorious stride. Jimmy, what do you reckon off the top of your head? How fast can he run at top speed? Usain Bolt, fastest human in the world. What's his top speed?
Good question, really. Good question. Off the top of my head, I'm not
Go on.
sure.
No, you got to come
Probably
in.
about, say, 45 k's an hour.
Ooh, we don't deal in Ks here in
That's
England.
right,
Imperial. What about MPHs?
I think it's about, say...
Yeah, I think you're right, actually, doing the conversion roughly.
Yeah, probably about, say, 27, 28 miles.
Ooh, you're good, Jimmy. No
Yeah.
wonder you front a show. 27.8 miles per hour. Okay, so that's the fastest human. Fastest, next fastest animal. It's got the fastest punch in the sea, the fastest punch in the ocean.
Wow.
Clocking in at 50 miles an hour. What punches at 50 miles an hour?
Well, probably a octopus, mate.
They're clever enough. It's a mantis shrimp. That's a fast
Wow.
punch.
I was going to say
Right
that.
through the water.
Yeah,
There's
there
no
we go.
animal that can There's no sea creature coming back from that. And we're building up here. If you just joined us, shame on you. Should be here at 5 p.m. But there is the new record. The fastest animal on Earth has got a movement that runs faster than all these things. Okay, what is the fastest mammal on Earth? That's an easy. Everyone knows the fastest mammal. What is it, Jimmy?
A leopard.
Cheetah.
Cheetah, sorry. Cheetah, that one
Cheetah.
in a moment. The mental block.
When it runs 65 miles an hour.
Yeah.
But the Ferrari of the seas is a sailfish. Have you ever seen a sailfish? Beautiful creature. You can see without knowing anything about the sea. As soon as you see that creature, you know it is built to cut through the water. That runs at 68 miles per hour. And what is the fastest thing on Earth beyond that? Do you know? It's not the cheetah. It's in the air. Have a guess.
Yeah, it'd have to be maybe a bald eagle or something along them lines.
Yep. There's a peregrine falcon. There's a few of them.
Yeah.
The most interesting one is the Brazilian free-tailed bat.
What's that, a pterodactyl or something?
That's a 99.5 mile an hour rapid beast. So these are the kind of things we're dealing with. But what is this new fastest animal? I'll tell you what. It's a movement, so it's not the whole animal. It's a movement that it produces. And it's a movement that runs at 90 meters a second, which to me and you is 200 miles an hour, is another clue. It's also called, officially, if you've only just met each other, Mystrium camille is its official Latin name. It's found inside tree trunks in the tropics of Africa, Asia. What is it? I'll let you think about that for a bit longer. But exciting news as well for our great town of Manchester, which seems to just be growing and growing physically, in terms of stature. And I heard again today, Jimmy, that people are emigrating from south to north for the first time in my generation, in my lifetime. This town is really booming.
Yeah, it's a great place to be, isn't it? Let's face it. I mean, there's a dynamic, definitely a dynamic atmosphere about it. So yeah,
it is a great town.
Yeah,
and in that vein, they're bidding for the ATP tennis finals from 2021. They're bidding, to take over from the O2 Arena. Now, if you didn't know, this is one of the major tennis events of the year, end of the year, face-off. 8 players, best 8 players in the world. And last year, the great new hope, the great new hope of tennis was Alexander Zverev, young German player who's been threatening to break through for a while and maybe finally introducing the next generation to the stage. The old-timers have been hanging on for a long time now, and he's just got in. It's going to be a great tournament, so they've got to beat Singapore, Tokyo and Turin to get the ATP Tour Finals. Is Chris joined us yet?
Chris, on the show, you just...
We'll get him. We'll get him. He's not with us just yet, but we'll get him. He'll be coming on soon.
Yeah.
So the ATP, can we get it? They're going to bid Manchester. Very exciting tournament. How are we going to beat Turin, Tokyo, and Singapore? Tokyo sponsor. sponsor the ATP tournament, so they've got a good chance, but it could be another feather in Manchester's bow. Chris.
Hi, good evening.
How you doing? Welcome to Sports Friday, Salford City Radio.
Thank you very much for having me.
That's a pleasure. We're very excited that you're a local team, and we're very lucky to have you here as a local team. I'm going to put you on to Jimmy Petruzzi to find out more about Salford City Football Club.
I mean, one of the things we want to do on the show, Chris, is raise awareness of the local team. I think a lot of the media coverage is around the teams in the Premiership, and we're really keen to promote the local team. There's a lot of good things happening at Salford, and there's every chance that they're going to work their way up the football pyramid. But your role, Chris, is sporting director. So can you give us a bit more detail of what that role involves at the club, just from a perspective of fans out there, wondering what's going on at the club and how things are going on? And so your role at the club, Chris?
Yeah, it's obviously it's from a football side of things, Jim. So everything relating to football. So the appointment of staff, the development of the football programme, the development of the academy, the recruitment of players, recruitment of staff, the development of the ladies team as well. You're there as a support for, like I say, for all those staff, and in particular the manager as well, to give them the best opportunity that they can, that we can give to Graham to be successful and really push the team forward. And like you say, the club is growing at a rapid rate of knots, and it's important that all the staff have the right support around them, and we can give them the resources that they need to be able to move us forward.
That's a major brief. What I'm interested in, though, is the 20-match run sequence has been broken, and so you've had to deal with something different this week. So how did that unveil itself within the club this week? Something new to you, isn't it?
Yeah, it was kind of. No, look, I mean, Graham's a very experienced manager. He's got experienced coaches with Chris Lucchetti and Carlo Nash around him, and it was a bit unexpected, I suppose, with regard to form, but nothing surprises you in this game. So Chesterfield are a big club. It's always going to be a tough game, and to be fair, we didn't play particularly well, and we'd be the first to admit that, and the manager would be, and the players. So you hold your hands up. The best team on the day won, but we've got to get back on that running streak and put together another set of results that can keep us at the top of the league, from now till the end of the season. So it's not panic stations or anything like that, because, like I say, everybody loses games. Look at Man City last week; they lost the game as well for the first time. So everybody loses them, and it's not to get overexcited when you win too many games, but not to get too disappointed when you lose a game as well.
And what do you make of the league itself, Chris? I mean, you've had experience of playing in the highest level, and you've obviously managed and coached across the different divisions in the football pyramid. And what do you make of the level itself in that division, the teams? How would you compare that sort of? Is it comparable to, say, the second division, the first division, or how far away would you say? What's the main difference between, say, I mean, the Shrewsbury game, I felt, for me, was fascinating, because it was almost like there was talk that, are Salford actually the underdogs going to that game? But they are, because obviously Shrewsbury's in a higher division in that respect, but obviously people are going to sort of think, well, the resources and having people like yourself, your experience and the coaching staff, professional outfit, you can understand why people probably think, well, almost like expectation to win. But what do you think is the difference between that league there and the professional leagues?
I'll be honest with you, Jim, there's not particularly a great amount of difference. I think there's probably, as more and more clubs in the National League become professionalised, then, with the athleticism of the players improving, the fitness of the players improving, on the full-time training programmes, then it becomes very, very, small differences. It can sometimes be, players have dropped out of the league for any kind of reason. It might be through an injury, it might be through, a manager coming in. So, there's more and more players at the top end, and it's pushing good players further down the leagues as well. So, and there are some really, really good players in the National League. Every game that I watch, there's always good players on the opposition, and obviously I'd like to think we've got a good team as well. So there isn't an awful lot of difference between the conference and League Two, I wouldn't say. Because you look at the results in the FA Cup as well. There's always teams that can knock each other out, or conference north teams. I think I think Stockport went to Yeovil, I think, or somewhere like that, and had a great result down there. So anybody can win beat anybody any time, and it's kind of an indication that there's not a lot of difference in the standard, to be fair.
Yeah, no, definitely, and I think that what's quite interesting is that the sort of mentality, the sort of class of '92 mentality, where you're brought up believing that you can win, and expectation is to win. And do you think that sort of rubbed off on the team itself? Obviously, yourself, what you bring to the club, and the class of '92, where you're growing up in an environment where you're expected to win, and I suppose that brings pressure in itself, where week in, week out, the expectation. Do you feel a sense of expectation game by game that you expected to win the game? Do you sort of feel that, or do you sort of get on with it and just take it game by game?
No, you take it game by game. You set your own standards. You set your own culture in the club. You set the standards within the training sessions on a day-to-day basis, and the behaviours that you portray throughout the week, whether that be the punctuality of the players, the appearance of the players, the intensity of the training session. So I say, when you look at elite environments, you look at the England rugby union team that we went to look at last season. Went to have a day with Eddie Jones and the guys down there, and the place was just oozing with standards and high standards. But in a lot of cases, those cost in. Like I said, being punctual, working at high intensity, having the appearance right, and doing everything right to the best of your ability. And I think if you put all those things in place, then the expectation goes out of the window, because you've done everything you can do anyway. So it's then just a matter of getting a performance on, what you've done and your preparation. And if you've done everything to prepare properly as well, and it doesn't get result, like we had last Saturday, it doesn't always work. But you put those, standards in place, then you give yourself every opportunity to be successful. So no expectation. It's a matter of what we expect from ourselves, and the way that we. The way that we are on a day-to-day basis.
I mean, anyone would take a 1-in-20 loss any club in the world, and we're being a bit harsh there. And in a way, it's great to reset and re-energise, re-motivate the team, I guess, and to see how you respond. It was the same when Pep Guardiola lost, wasn't it? And he kind of welcomed it to motivate. But what fascinates me, and what's quite distinct about your club, is the meteoric rise. It's like a rocket for the first time, not knowing what's going to go wrong on it. And what fascinates me is, how do you manage that very particular, unusual rise in terms of making hard decisions, letting players go, or managers or coaches, and because it's such an unusual situation. It's 3, isn't it? 3 promotions in a row, and still rocketing.
Yeah, I think it's 4 promotions in 5 years. So it's sometimes it's not about being reactionary. It's about being prepared and having the succession plan as far ahead as you can go. But sometimes things don't always go your way, and things can happen. So you've got to be prepared for things to not go as you've planned. But I think the most important thing is to have a vision, is to have a plan. That everybody's aware of, everybody knows which direction you're going in. And if you can continue to be successful, it's one of those situations where you've got to be prepared for it. You've got to be ready for success. You've got to be ready for failure. You've got to have all those plans in place. And when things, if you do get a promotion, you get another promotion on the back of it, then it's important that you're prepared for that, and you've got the players in place that can deal with that, and you've got the players to bring in who can also deal with that. So there can be no shocks. I think it's probably what I'm trying to say is be prepared for every eventuality, really. And if we can continue to evolve the club at the rate that it's going, then there'll be times when things will come out of the woodwork. Things won't be expected, but you've got to deal with that, and that's part of being successful. You look at Manchester United along the way when they first won the Premier League. Halfway through the season, it didn't look like they were going to get anywhere near it, and all of a sudden they win the Premier League, win it again, and the club's up and running. So, I'm not comparing us to Manchester United and the size of the club of that, but it's similar in ways of the trajectory of and the success of Salford City.
Well, it's good to think big like that. Have you got a settled DNA now? Have you got a blueprint of football like Manchester City and say, right, this is how we're going to play. This is how we're going to set our stall out, come what may. Or have you find you've evolved through the different leagues over the years? Or adapted to the particular league? Because the rumour is that it's more agricultural and you have to be more physical and less cute down the leagues. But I don't know if that's true necessarily.
Well, the Premier League is the most physical league in the world. The size and the athletes in the Premier League is absolutely frightening, and the way that which they can move and the speed they can move. So it's the way that we are. We don't have an actual set style or a set formation. Actually, you probably call it sensible football. You set your team up in a certain way, in a certain plan that will beat the opposition. Sometimes that plan has to change throughout the game, and again, you've got to be prepared for that. But I think one of the most important things is, and one of the things we really did emphasise to the manager is, we've got a duty as well to the people of Salford. If they're going to pay good money to come and watch us play, we've entertained them as well.
Oh, amen for that.
That's kind of a taken from the Manchester United way. Sir Alex would always insist on playing, expansive, wide open football. And I think when you look at the goals that we've scored, I think Saturday was the first game that was not actually scored in this year in over 20 games. So we are open. We're an open team, we're an attacking team. But like I say, that comes from the need, I suppose, to entertain the people of Salford that come along. They want to be entertained, they want to see good football matches, and they want to come and go away with a smile on the face and with 3 points as well. So it's not always as easy as that, but I think when you start like that and you put the right players in the squad, in the team, in the likes of Tom Walker's, your Adam Rooney's, your Danny Lloyd's, who's going to excite people, get people on the edge of the seat, then that's what we're about as well. And it is about winning football matches and being successful, but I think the most important thing is we give the people of Salford something to cheer about as well, and then be happy and be entertained.
I can't tell you how uplifting it is to hear that as a Manchester United fan. The big debate nowadays of you've got to win games, it's a business. For me, you've echoed Bobby Robson perfectly. You've got to entertain the people, haven't you? Of course you've got to win, but it's so great to hear that.
Yeah, no, I think it's an important point, and I think that the community, the football fans, play a big role in the game. I think sometimes in the higher leagues, it's sort of maybe not taken for granted, but the game sort of moved away from where it used to be. But I think certainly there's an obligation to provide some form of entertainment. That said, winning is important. What about the youngsters, Chris? I mean, I know that you're a really, really big fan of promoting youth players, and you've helped a lot of young players over the years find their way in the game, and a lot of young players are going to give credit to you as a coach and to a person to help them get to where they are. And anything that you're doing at Salford in terms of youth development, anything specific that you sort of, is that a big policy to try and bring players through and get them into the first team, or is that sort of an area that's ongoing development? Where do you sort of stand on youth development at the moment at the club?
It's probably, it's one of the most important aspects, Jim, because when the owners got together, they wanted to put an academy together first, and it was then to kind of think, well, we need a first team where our academy players can actually end up, and a pathway to a first team. So the academy kind of came for everything else, really, or the idea. And then one of my roles when I came into the club nearly 2 years ago was to put together the academy. We've now got 40 players in the academy system, under 17 and under 18. Moncrief made his debut the other day against Aldershot. So what we're actually looking for is to keep that pathway clear for our young players to come through. We've got some outstanding coaches, Jamie Russell, Lewis Craig and Luke Morgan, that develop the players on a day-to-day basis. And what we also look at is not just the development of the player, but more importantly, I suppose, the development of the person. We do a lot of other activities with regard to leadership and developing their character. presenting in front of each other, feedback, being clear about, how to receive feedback and these kind of things. And so we're preparing them for a life in football, but we'd like to be judged on the amount of people and players that we get into the first team. But I think most importantly, we're judged on the players that actually don't get into the first team, that go on to have develop their characters, that go on to further education, that go on to have other careers. And actually look back on their experience at Salford City and say, well, that was a real catalyst, and I really enjoyed my time at Salford City. So that's the obligation to the players that we've got, and I think we provide that. We provide an outstanding programme where the development of the individual is absolutely critical and key to everything. And we're giving them some outstanding experiences. And like I say, the coaches we've got are outstanding, are really good, and they deliver some really good stuff to the players. And like I say, we had quite a few debuts last year. We've already got Kamar this year, and hopefully there'll be more to come.
A big issue which you're well placed to probably comment on is this modern day argument of the mollycoddled academy player versus the old school player. What's your actual experience of that? I know you just touched upon it, but how do you prevent them getting too softened, if you want to use that phrase?
Yeah, I think we've got to be careful in this day, because it's okay saying, well, 25, 30 years ago when we were academy players, obviously we had Eric Harrison as our youth team coach. And things were a bit different. We had to do this and we had to do that. And society changes. Technology is different. All these kind of things. But going back to the first team, I think it's about principles. I think it's about values. So long as you keep those values of respect, honesty, hard work, loyalty, all these kind of things that cost nothing. Again, whether my father was an apprentice in the early 60s. The same values should still be in place. It's still a game of football at the end of the day. How you treat people and how you expect to be treated, I don't think should change. So whether you've got millions at an academy in a Premier League club, or we just started out like we are at Salford City, I think it's important to have an identity. And I'd like to think that when our players go out and you actually can see a Salford City player, the hard working. They work together. There's a team ethic. They're humble, like I say, we give them some good experiences, some different experiences that possibly other clubs might not give them and can't give them. Really, we expose them to an outstanding games program, different levels of games. Our best under 17s are playing in the under 21s. And everybody's getting challenged and stretched, which is what, as a player, I wanted to happen. We're trying to recreate a little bit of the old A team, B team, where as a 17-year-old you're playing against men, and that really improves you. There's no question about that. Playing above yourself really, really does challenge you and stretches you. So having all those different kind of experiences. So a leadership day come in between, where a good friend of mine who's a sergeant major in the Royal Military Police will come in and deliver a leadership day. So I probably think most academies over Christmas will shut down. Ours they'll enjoy the Christmas, but we'll get them in for a couple of days. And it'll be a good day. There'll be a physical day. There's some things in the classroom. We did it last year, and the feedback from the players was outstanding. So all those kind of things that we can give the players that in other academies you can't always give them. Normally they've got to play against their own age group, which it becomes quite mundane. You're always playing against, if you're under 16, let's play against other under 16s. I always don't. And we had an under 16 player our youth cup last year. So we're willing to try things. We're willing to do things differently, and I think that's the exciting part of the academy and the programme.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. I think that you've raised some really good points there, and I think certainly, I'm sure the influence of yourself and the coaching staff is going to go a long way for the players, not just as footballers, because football, as we know, as a player anyway, it's a short career in the big scheme of things. Even if you sort of play as long as one can play, there's a point where you've got to make that transition. I think that they're well placed to do that. And that for me is crucial, because I think that what you do off the pitch affects what you do on the pitch too. And the marginal gains principle is imperative for me, Chris, where I think that every day you got to look for a marginal gain and see where you can improve and what you can do to improve. And for a player, I think that it's so imperative they sort of take that on board in the game, where every moment is key, and I was speaking to some young players the evening, telling them that the important thing for them is to sort of seize the moment. Every pass and kick, every action has a big reaction. The tackle you put in now could have, or a shot you have on target you have now, or you get back into shape again, has a big reaction 20, 30 minutes down the line. And these are little things that they sort of do. And I always encourage players, Chris, to watch games as a student, not just as a fan. What would you do against him? How would you handle, him or her, so to speak? And I always encourage the players, when you watch a game, don't just sit back and watch as a fan. Watch it as a student and learning. How would you play against the likes of that player? What would you do, and that sort of stuff? And that goes a long way. And I can see you guys obviously are doing a lot of stuff in that direction, and the players have got every opportunity to do well. I think in the end, it's football as we know. It's multifactorial, whether one makes it or not. There's many factors involved. All you can do is give people the best chance you can, and they train the best they can. And in the end, what's to be is to be. But I think it's great that you guys give them that opportunity to learn off the best, and hopefully for the lads coming through, they'll go on and achieve their full potential. That's really success, because there's only so many places in the game, so it's fascinating insight into what you do. So going forward, just sort of before you've been very kind to share your time. So who you guys got this weekend, Chris? You this weekend? What's the
let's have the preview.
Yeah, we've
got Gateshead in the FA Trophy.
Wow, okay.
At home, 3 o'clock kickoff. So.
Yeah,
that'll be a tough game, but it'd be a good game as well. We didn't have a great start to the season. We drew 1 and lost 2 our first 3 games, and Gateshead beat us at their place. They've got some good young players as well. Luke Armstrong from Middlesbrough, Greg Ollie, who came through, I think Newcastle and Hull City as well. So it'll be a real good, exciting game. It's not a league game, obviously, which gives us. I think sometimes it's good to change focus a little bit, have something different, and we'll give 1 or 2 of the other players an opportunity that have been chomping at the bit. They train every day, they work as hard as the lads who play regularly, and these guys deserve a chance. We're not making too many changes, but I think we need to give all our players an opportunity, and it gives them an opportunity for some game time as well. So it's a squad game. We're going to need a big squad, because leading up into the next part of the season, we've obviously got Dagenham on the 22nd, then we've got Wrexham away, we've got Barrow away, then we've got Wrexham at home, then we've got Leyton Orient away, and some real tough fixtures coming. So it's going to be a squad game. So it's important that everybody's up to speed and up to match speed. So tomorrow's a good opportunity for that.
No, definitely, and certainly we encourage the fans to get out there and support the team, and anyone listening this evening, we would certainly encourage them to get out there and support the local team. It's a team that's making the town proud, and we know there's a lot of good athletes in the area, many good athletes, many good sports people in this area, and for sure I think that you guys are playing aiming to play a great brand of football, so certainly would encourage the fans to get out there and support the team.
Yeah, that's right. Like I said, there'll not be too many changes. We'll be going out to win the game, and again, playing the right way. These guys get coached the same way, so the style of play won't change. The formation might change a little bit, but the style and way in which we are in possession, we're out of possession, and when we in transition of the ball will not change. We'll play at high intensity, and that runs again. It's important that runs throughout the club, and there's a real good relationship between the first team and the academy, and there's that continuum now where when our youth team players do step up and train with the first team, they know exactly what's wanted of them and what's needed from them, so there's no shock. So again, it's part of developing the football club and the football ethos of the club as well. So like I said, tomorrow will be a good opportunity for everyone to get some games, but it'll be a good game. I'm absolutely convinced by that.
Hey, it's been illuminating to listen to you, Chris, to have you on the show, and also just want to commend as well the organisation in general. You do a lot of work outside of football for mental health, and the jumpers for goalposts and the half-season ticket sales on now. I mean, you're a credit to the community, so well done on behalf of Salford City Radio and all of our listeners.
Yeah, no, thanks. It's absolutely critical, is that side of the club as well, the community, getting out into schools, the mental health awareness, the help that we can give the community on all those aspects, the homeless programme. Like I say, it's absolutely critical that it's not just about the football club from an inner from the inner sanctum, so to speak. It's about the people of Salford, and the welfare of the people of Salford is absolutely crucial to us, and that's how you build a I think how you build a successful football club, by having and integrating those people into your football club. So it's still quite new. The programs are still quite new, as the football club is, but they will be getting bigger and developing as the years go on, and there's some really good work going on in that area, no question.
Brilliant. The club should be a parish, and it should be part of the congregation, should be a huge part of it. And in this day and age, we need to knit community together more than ever. So, yeah, well done again. It's really been inspiring to listen to you.
Thanks, Chris. All the best this weekend. Cheers, pal.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye.
Cheers.
Chris Casper, Sporting Director.
Are you looking to advertise your business, promote your company or market your project? Well, you can do just that with Salford City Radio. All you have to do is get in contact with us, which couldn't be easier. Email us at info@salfordcityradio.org, call 0161 793 2939, or you can click on the advertising tab at our website at www.salfordcityradio.org.
Merry Christmas from everyone at Salford City Radio.
The place to be this festive season. Join us for some festive shows this Christmas.
94.4 FM.
Your city.
Your city.
Your city.
Your station.
Salford City Radio.
Welcome back, Salford City Radio at Sports Friday. Clifford, Tyrone, Jimmy Petruzzi. We are on the cusp of Friday evening and this festive season. What a great time to be alive. Welcome back. We've just got enough time, though, to talk again about Keith Brooks, who was on this time last week. He's been saluted by the BBC as the unsung hero of the award for Northwest. He goes into the Grand Pot to see if he can be the National Unsung Hero of the Year award, and that's because he's put 70 years into Munton Sports Club. It's just our local club here in Eccles, a great institution, and he has personally promised anyone that goes down and references that they're a Salford City Radio Sports Friday listener will get a pint by Keith. He'll be at the bar. He does everything there. But whether it's sport or social, do try Munton Sports Club. It's not just a great club within Salford. It's probably, from the sounds of it and the BBC endorsing it, one of the great clubs in the country. But this weekend he will be there at the Sports Personality of the Year. But for the first time ever, they've not released a shortlist this year. There could be a few people on it, Lewis Hamilton maybe. So in light of that, we've been looking at the Anti-Sports Hero Award of the Year. Have you got any contenders for the biggest rotter of the year in the sporting world 2018, Jimmy?
I think it's a tough one. I think this season, sports people have presented us. I think many sports people this season have certainly put the passion back in the sport, and I think that we've sort of seen a different side to...
What about Ramos?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
Ramos on Salah?
Yeah,
intentional?
No, I mean, whether that was intention...
Can we put him in the biggest rotter of the year?
I mean, he certainly won't be getting too many Christmas cards, I think.
I think there was some intent there. I think there was some intent.
There's a possibility, but that said, we'll never know, and football's a contact sport, and yeah, it was a shame what happened for Salah, for the club, and for football in general. That said and done, it's a difficult one. It is a contact sport, and these things do happen, and I think it's a tough one.
I've got a few contenders for you.
Yeah, that's far away.
All right, and then tell me which one you think.
Yeah.
Here we go, answer you, everyone. If you've got social media, at the ready.
Yeah.
At Sports Friday. Okay, number one, we've got Sabir Rahman. He's a Bangladeshi batsman. He had a world record 10 months of this year suspended. That's got to be a first in the gentlemanly sport of cricket. He had to also donate $25,000 to the Bangladeshi Cricket Board. This is why. He asked an umpire during an international match if he could briefly leave the field. This was sanctioned. He went behind the screens that you have in cricket, the white screens, and he assaulted a 12-year-old boy that was just shouting on the sidelines. Absolutely smacked him.
Wow.
6 months later, he's threatened to beat a fan up on Facebook who criticised his form. So that's Sabir Rahman. Is it bad enough? The Dutch Olympic speed skate team, did you hear about what they did? In the Pyeongchang Olympics in South Korea, there was a giant medal. There was a giant mock medal that they had in the opening ceremony. They threw it into the crowd, injured many fans too seriously, went to hospital for wounds. And then in the press conference subsequently, the captain didn't just not apologise, he went on to tell the Koreans to treat dogs better, creating one of the biggest outrages of insulting a whole nation. So that's the Dutch Olympic team. The worst one, maybe, I don't know if you saw this, the worst one, and anyone that saw this that doesn't know anything about sports knew it was well offside. Roman Fanati, I don't know if you remember the name, Moto2 motorbike racer, 130 miles an hour, side by side, on a motorbike. He grabbed his opponent's brake lever. Now that is offside. And this is what he said in defence. I've always been a fair rider, but unfortunately, I've got an impulsive character.
Yeah, I mean, it's a typical one. I mean, I thought you were going to draw attention to the Australian cricketers at that point.
Oh, it was like this year.
Well, I think
weeping on national TV in Australia.
Precisely.
That was not done, is it? That is not done in Australia.
Precisely. Well, I mean, the day... Yeah,
they're losing on the moment. India just won their first test, I think, for a long time on the Australian soil.
They did, and so did Perth now, and that's going to be tough as well. I think for me, the sporting environment is a tough environment to be in, and it's not easy being out there and having the expectations of a nation on you, and people do things they probably wouldn't normally do.
Yeah, but enough to put sandpaper in your undercrackers.
Yeah, well, I mean, we don't condone what they did, but putting it into perspective, I think, in a big scheme of things, I think the players have admitted they were wrong, and they shouldn't have done that, and we know that, but it's been done, and I think it's really important to put perspective on the situation, and there's been a lot of lessons learned.